Why do I feel like I would rather clean my whole house right now than do this?
What do you mean? I thought you loved doing this podcast.
I do. I really do. And isn't that the weird thing about procrastination? I mean, let's talk about it.
Really? Are you sure? Right now? Do we have to? Can't we leave it till later?
So, I see you are a professional as well.
This isn't a podcast with all the answers.
It's a conversation about figuring things out as you go.
From two very different generations.
With Michelle R. Williams
and Nick Hurst.
Welcome to Life Happens.
I want to start off by giving everyone a little glimpse behind the scenes of how we put this podcast together. Each of us writes our notes for the script ahead of time. Then we get together online and talk it through. An editorial meeting, if you will. So, knowing that, Michelle, tell us honestly, how long before our editorial meeting this week did you write your notes?
I don't want to answer that without my lawyer. Okay, the fact that I am a procrastinator, I think that we all know. It's no secret. But hey, the job was done, and the job was done well. And just because I finished it like 5 minutes before you called me on Tuesday, that doesn't change anything. If I've done it 5 minutes prior or 5 days prior, the quality is still the same. It's still there. It works.
So procrastination is not a bad thing, you're saying? You're justifying procrastination.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to shame it because that's basically shaming myself. And I don't know, if you know how to work with it, and that's the thing I'm saying. I am a procrastinator, but never in my life I had it ruin something for me. Because I'm also an anxious person, so that together gets working the best under pressure. So it always worked for me. And as I'm saying, it never happened to me that I would miss a deadline or something like that because I procrastinated for too long. I'm actually really good with deadlines, which I'm not sure if goes together, and it might be something really wrong with me. But yeah, I do both. I really would say that even when I'm doing things last minute, I do get really good results, and the job I gave or the job I do or the results I have are the same as if I'd done it months or weeks or days prior. I mean, it obviously depends on what it is, but okay, it happened to me once, actually. It happened to me once during high school with studying for a test, and I knew about the test, but it was sort of also not really procrastination, but not really understanding what the test is about, because it was a test summarizing 2 years of material. And I kind of didn't know that. I was like, yeah, it's just a test, this topic and this topic, that's fine. And I opened it the evening prior, and I found out it was 50 pages. And I was like, oh, I mean, yeah, I won't do that. So I totally failed that test. But that's literally the only time procrastination ruined something for me. So
well, there's a lesson to be learned there. I was about to say we all do it, but I don't think we do. I can't generalize like that. But I think a lot of us are familiar with that concept of putting off something till later. And the first thing that comes into your mind is that you put off something because you don't want to do it. You got to tidy up your bedroom. You think, oh, I don't want to do this. So I know, I'll do my homework. It's kind of like the lesser of two evils, isn't it? That you sort of put off one thing and by doing another.
Yeah. That's actually called productive procrastination, which was something I was about to get to, but you jumped right to it. So yeah, that's called productive procrastination. And it's actually, I don't think it's a bad thing. I actually really like that, because in my mind, when I'm forcing myself into something, it will just be worse. I have to clean, I have to do the laundry and blah, blah, blah. If I force myself into it, I know I will procrastinate it anyway, and I will end up scrolling, on social media. But then when I leave it, And I sort of know like, oh, tomorrow morning, I have to write my podcast notes. And I know I won't want to do it. So tomorrow morning, instead of that, I will do my laundry. And then I do my laundry.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah. I didn't know it was called productive procrastination. So thank you, doctor, for that. But you just reminded me a story I heard years and years and years ago. I think it was a radio interview I was listening to long before I worked in radio. And I was hearing, it was an interview with a relatively successful, or very successful, I would say, British novelist. I can't remember his name, but I was a fan of his books. And he was saying that the act of writing, and this is something that you and I can both relate to as writers ourselves, the act of writing was something that A, he really enjoyed, but B, he used to put off and put off and put off. And he said that when he had, set aside time, this is writing time now, and then suddenly, oh, I must do the dishes. So he'd go and start washing up. He said whenever he was in writing mode, his house was so clean because he would do anything. And then he said he would actually start writing, but the slightest distraction would stop him. He used to say that an airplane flying overhead was worth 10 minutes.
Yeah, you can relate, can't you?
I can, because apparently, according to Michelle, I'm easily distracted when we're having our online
Not to
conversations.
diagnose. Yeah, but everything but the thing you have to do is more interesting. And unfortunately, I'm the same. That's why our editorial meetings usually have 3 hours. And it's about work that would easily take 30 minutes. But hey, that's
True.
just how it is. We are working.
But we like to gossip and stuff as well.
Yeah, that's also right.
But
there's also tea time.
Tea time. But I do get distracted, and I think you probably do a bit as well.
Yeah, the writing thing is so relatable.
But we can use that as the sort of core example, because the bottom line is that we both love writing, and it's a key thing that we really, really want to do, a key thing in our lives. So why do we procrastinate? Why do we put off doing things that we really like?
That's the thing. Because when someone talks about procrastination, I feel like we all imagine, not cleaning your house or not doing your emails or not studying and stuff like that. Stuff that we shouldn't really enjoy or that we don't really enjoy. And it's quite obvious. But I struggle with procrastination more when it comes to things that I actually enjoy and care about. So, procrastination is not logical. It's purely emotional. Because if it was just logical, we wouldn't do it because we know it makes no sense. And so the thing is that, a lot of people think that procrastination means laziness, but that's not true. It's connected to so many other and deeper things. For example, fear of failure or even fear of success to a certain point, or different attention issues. I mean, you don't have to be diagnosed with certain attention issues to have some low attention issues. And people perceive attention differently. And that's why it works differently with procrastination or focusing on work with every single one of us. Or another thing that's connected to procrastination, and I think it's the biggest issue for me, is perfectionism. What's your take on that? Because I struggle with it so much, and that's why I don't do anything.
I don't know what my take is on that. I just think that everything I do will be perfect anyway. So
okay, this is a completely different issue that I will definitely not diagnose.
Seriously, I find that I'm putting stuff off, not necessarily because of fear of a lack of perfectionism, but because I think of something that I like to do, that I've got to do. I keep putting it off because I'm putting off that moment of joy. I don't want it to come too soon. Does that make any sense?
Because you'll be happy and you don't want to be happy right now. You want to be happy later.
Kind of, yes. Am I weird? Yeah.
No, I mean, I kinda get it, but at the same time, I wish I could just be happy that easily, Because that's definitely not how it works with me. And I mean, it makes sense to, and it's actually like really nice and like, good for you that you just know that writing makes you happy. On the other hand, you don't have limited time for writing. Like you can write literally 23 hours a day, 24 if you drink enough coffee. And so you can be happy like all the time if writing makes you happy. So
Yeah,
that's maybe
so
what I don't really understand.
I think your perfectionism thing comes into it because there's an element of thinking, I need to, and it doesn't have to be writing; it could be anything, so that
Hmm.
anyone listening to this can relate to, the things that you like doing, but you know that you put off. Sometimes it's because you're waiting for the right moment to do it, and maybe the
Right
right
mood.
moment is when you feel that you're going to be able to hit your perfectionist targets. So
Yeah.
perfectionism might come into it, but also there is that kind of fear of failure, fear of judgment, and also just the pressure of when you have to do something that will engage the brain, if that's something that is going to make you feel pressured. Sometimes it might be that you've got to do something physical, like we talked earlier, that you've got to clean the house or go and
Mm,
mow the lawn, and you're just thinking, oh, I don't want to do that now, so I'll go and do my homework, or I'll do this task that I brought home from work or something. So yeah,
mm,
productive procrastination. But I think
yeah,
it's a very common thing that we're going to always find ways to put off doing things that we like. I mean, it's logical why we put off doing things we don't like, because
that's what I said.
you
Yeah.
don't want to do it. But if there's something you do like, why do we put off doing them? And we do put off doing them.
I feel like with me, and giving example about writing because that's probably something I procrastinated the most. I feel like it's exactly the perfectionism of if I mean I will procrastinate anything, like literally anything, even the smallest, most stupid thing, I will procrastinate. But the thing is that when I finally push myself to do it, and it's something I don't really care about, it's answering emails. I'm like, yeah, I will just answer it and move on and like whatever. I don't really care. But with writing, I really do care. And I feel like in sort of like writers community, I would be called out having such a toxic approach to my writing. But even when it's the first draft, even when it's something that I'm not publishing yet, I just need it to be good. And it's something I'm trying to get rid of, but it's like not really easy. And so when I sit down to write, I want to be satisfied with what I've done. And that pressure alone is just too much. And that's exactly what you were saying, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for the perfect mood. I sit down, I open the document, I know what I'm about to do, but I write like first two words, and in both I make a grammar mistake, or it just they don't really go together. And especially writing in my second language is also another aspect of it, and I'm like, nope, my English is not Englishing today, can't do it. And all of these things tell me that whatever you write now won't be perfect. And being the perfectionist I am, I'm like, well, then it's, like what am I doing it for? Like I won't do anything then if it's not perfect. Maybe tomorrow my mood will be better and suddenly I'll be Shakespeare.
But we've had this conversation privately between ourselves on a number of occasions when we were talking about our writing. So, as you know, I recently, a few months ago, started to work on my third book. And you know well, because you've read what I've been writing. And, well, more than read it. Let's be perfectly
Thank you.
honest about that.
Yes, my
Been
valuable feedback was given.
and your editorial input, which has been gratefully
Yes.
received. However, when I started it, there was the idea came, light bulb moment, and then some research and then some notes. But I really like to get down to, getting something on the page, albeit the page is now a blank screen on my laptop, but as opposed to a piece of paper with a pen. But my attitude is, I mean, you could sit there and procrastinate till the cows come home, to use a rather wonderful and ancient English idiom. So to avoid doing that, to avoid just sitting there gazing at a blank screen, my attitude is just get anything down. The ideas are there. Just start writing. In a way, your hands kind of take over, and you just and the words come tumbling out. Because, as we know as writers, that's just the very, very, very first draft. It's like if you're building a house, that's the bit where you're actually just digging out where the foundations are going to go. There's so many stages that this is going to go
Honestly,
through.
I don't think that was a good example, because even when you are just digging for the house, it has to be somehow good. So later on, the house will stand the way it's supposed to. Writing the first draft is just the first draft is supposed to be shit, literally. It's supposed to be terrible, and that's the attitude that you should write the first draft with. Like, wow, let's see how terrible I can make this. And sometimes this attitude helps me, and especially so after I'm going back to like first drafts of my different books, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was terrible. So like, no pressure, because I wrote that and I was still happy with it. So, no pressure. But it's still, it's hard to force that attitude upon yourself.
Well, that's the way that I approach it. It's interesting. We kind of both have different ways, but I think it reflects that,
We do.
the who is the optimist and who is the pessimist here, because
We already know that.
there you're saying the first draft is supposed to be shit. I'm saying just get anything down on paper and then, and build out from that. So I do. And I say to myself, I'll be writing, getting anything down on paper. And then I'll stop and start thinking, oh, but now I want him to say this. It's going to lead on to this, and it'll be somewhere reflected further along in the book. So then I fall into the trap of overthinking it. Dun, dun, dun. And guess what? We're going to talk about overthinking stuff next week. Or the next episode.
This is just the first of overthinking jokes that you will hear probably like hundreds of next week.
It wasn't a joke, but thank you. But the fact is that with something like a task like writing, and I'm not, I don't want to exclude everybody who's not a writer, any task that involves brain work is going to involve that risk of overthinking it. Sometimes you just need to rush into something and do it and not overthink it. Otherwise, there is the possibility that you sit there, because procrastination and overthinking are, the devil and his mistress. They are tied together totally, because often procrastination is because you're sitting there overthinking it. You're sitting there thinking, okay, should I do it this way? Or should I do it that? Or wait a minute, there's a third possibility here I hadn't thought. And so suddenly an hour has gone and you think, oh, it's time for lunch now. I'll leave this till later. So
are you just calling me out now? Like, is this like my psychological analysis at this point?
It wasn't intended to be, but if the cap fits.
Of course it does. Overthinking and procrastination and anxiety are my 3 biggest personality traits. Like, come on, and you know that. So these 2 episodes are really spot on.
Why do people procrastinate, though? We've kind of described the scenarios.
I think that another reason why people procrastinate is actually connected to one of our previous episodes, and that's about what will people think. Because I feel I've been thinking about it, and I feel like if I was just completely alone, I had no one around me and no one knew what I was doing and no one will see my work or read my writing or anything like this, I won't be so strict with myself and I won't procrastinate that much. Because I feel like it's a circle, and we talked about perfectionism, but perfectionism can come within you, but it can also come in a form of expectations of those around you. So I feel like when I sort of remember going back to my high school years or maybe even elementary school years when my parents still were a lot in my business, and they were focused on how much I'm studying and what I'm studying and so on and so on. I remember already being worried that I will fail the test before it even happened, or not fail it, but just I won't fulfill, for example, my father's expectations from that. So I was like, okay, what's even the point? Like, I will fail anyway if I study or if I don't study. So I will just not study. Or for me, it was also that, with school and studying, you sort of know something. You are sitting through the class. I'm sort of remembering my history of art class and lessons during high school, which I absolutely loved. The best class, the best lessons ever, the best teacher ever. Because I loved it, I was sitting there and I was listening. And so then when I had the topic, I was like, yeah, I guess I know about it. But then I opened the book and I found out how little I actually knew. And that stress alone was something I didn't want to find out. Sometimes you just want to live in that delusion, in the bubble of like, yeah, no, I'm doing good. But you know that if you start studying, it will tell you how stupid you actually are. Or if you open that email with the bill, you will find out that you don't have any money. And subconsciously you know that, but seeing it black and white is just something you don't want to face. And so you procrastinate studying, or you procrastinate opening that email for that reason.
That's very true. So I think there's a sort of psychological angle here, not that I'm a psychologist, just a quick disclaimer there, is that procrastination isn't usually about being lazy. It's about avoidance or fear or perfectionism or simply just overwhelm. And I'm actually in that situation at the moment, launching my second novel, Second Spider from the Right. Should be available in a couple of months' time.
Maybe.
So long as I don't get too overwhelmed. But I am at the moment literally quite overwhelmed by all the tasks that I need to do. The book is finished. That's like the biggest task. It's been edited about 5 times, a lot by you. Now there's all the other tasks that go around it. And I tell you, every day I've sort of managed to put sort of a list together. It's not terribly scientific. It's something that I've done, sort of trying to identify all the tasks. But every day I'm sort of thinking, right, now I need to get going on the next bit. And I managed to successfully put it off till about 5 o'clock in the afternoon before I start. And then I go from 5 o'clock till 8 in the evening, and I think, oh, it's time to have something to eat and watch a bit of TV. So that's kind of it. And the way that I work is a bit sort of random. I'll do a bit here, and then I'm reading some information on the internet, and then there's a link in that information, and I click on the link, and there's some more information over here about this topic, and I need to read. So it all gets a bit, scattered.
That's because you have attention issues. That's literally it. I wonder if like healthy people, like mentally fully healthy people, which I don't really believe anyone is fully mentally healthy, just like by the way, but I really wonder how people without attention issues do that. Like, I wish I could experience that, because I never could, because my attention issues are all over the place and yours are too. So I really don't know how it works normally, but that's basically what I do. But with the overwhelming feeling, that's so relatable. And you know that better than anyone how I struggled in the past few weeks with everything going on around Ireland. And it's exactly it. It's like I feel like you are just sometimes not mentally or emotionally ready for facing something new. It's like when you, I don't know, go to gym for like 8 hours for 5 days straight, then the 6th day, you know that you are tired and not physically ready and well enough to go to gym again. And physically, it's so much easier to understand it. You're like, no, of course not. I'm tired. I won't be doing that. Makes sense. But I feel like we are not really focused on being exhausted mentally. And it's really hard to treat that. Because when you are tired physically, you just lay down, don't do anything, or you go to sleep early or something like that. But for example, my mind can never rest. I don't remember the last time my mind rested, because even when I'm not doing something and I'm resting, or it seems like I'm resting, I'm watching TV or anything, my brain keeps going. And without getting rest, everything else gets even worse and even more overwhelming. And then just the sound of another email coming in can just trigger you so badly that you are like, no, I just can't do that. And, as I'm saying, it's very, very fresh for me with like Ireland and everything because I procrastinated so many details about it for so long. Luckily, because I am who I am, I'm leaving in a week, but I think everything is settled and everything will be on time. So thank God for that. But, now I am sort of sitting here and I'm like, why didn't I start earlier? And pushing it forward just makes it worse. But at the same time, I know that like 2 weeks ago, I wasn't mentally strong enough to handle certain things, certain emails, certain decisions. So there is a lot going on behind procrastination than just laziness.
I should just jump in here and say to anyone listening who doesn't know what Michelle means when she says, I was procrastinating about Ireland. Michelle is off to study in Ireland for probably a few years. So it's a big step, moving countries for quite a long time. So she's been having to deal with that. And also just going back to what you were saying before about you and me being the ones with attention issues, and you were sure that there are some people who don't have that. And I know that I've met people like that who just are able to be incredibly focused for a long period of time and just get tasks done. What I'd like to ask is that for you listening to this, what is your situation? Are you one of these people who can just do it? Tell us how. Write something in the comments. Tell us, I'm a doer, not a procrastinator. Or if you do have attention issues or you're a procrastinator, write in the comments. Tell us how or why you think you procrastinate. And while you're there, give us a like and subscribe to Life Happens, *podcast. What about the future me delusion? You know, from our discussions prior to this, that I loved that. This was in your notes for the script. Tell me about future me, because I really, when I read it, I thought, oh yes, that's, I get that completely.
It's terrible, but I feel like it's shamed a lot as well. And I actually have sort of a hot take for that.
Ooh.
For my like personal experience. I feel like lately I've been saying that I have a hot take for everything. I really hope that half of it is not a hot take and that I actually have people agreeing with me, but whatever, let's just roll with it. The future me syndrome or future me delusion, whatever you want to call it, is something that I feel like everyone ever experienced. And it's the moment when you are procrastinating something and you are like, no, you know what? Tomorrow I will wake up ready for it. It's like when I go back to writing, because that's, my biggest experience or something we both can relate to. It's like I start writing and I'm like, no, my English is not Englishing. It's just not working. Like I won't push through. I will get back to it tomorrow, because tomorrow I will wake up refreshed. I will wake up with motivation that will just appear out of nowhere. And suddenly I'll be a native speaker and I will know all these complicated words that I can't even pronounce. And tomorrow I will wake up and I'll be Oscar Wilde. And I will finish my book. And I mean, I'm making it sound dramatic, but it's basically in sort of everyday life situation. It's like, no, I will do it tomorrow because tomorrow I will have time for it. Or tomorrow I'll be more rested and I will have more energy to do it. And I feel like we all do it, but at the same time, we all know it's not true. But my hot take is that sometimes it is true. And personally, it works for me because sometimes, I'm trying to push myself into something. Like recently, just like a few days ago, I needed to buy a plane ticket. And it seems like such a simple task, but I just didn't want to. And I was like, okay, what suitcases do I need to add? And like this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I just was not able to handle it in the moment. I was too tired. I was just like, I'm not doing it. I will do it tomorrow. And in the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, you will do it tomorrow. You keep saying that for past fucking 2 weeks, girl. Like, okay, but you will do it tomorrow. But the next day I woke up, and maybe it was the time pressure, because I was actually worried that there will be no seat available on the plane and it will totally fuck up all of my plans. But the next morning I woke up and I was like, yeah, let's do it. It's a simple task. I sat down, I did it, and after like 10 minutes it was done. And so I think that sometimes taking off that pressure of I have to do it now because tomorrow I won't feel like it anyway, sometimes it works. Obviously, you have to bear in mind the deadlines. And if, I came back to it the next day and there was no seat available, I would probably hate myself and I would feel so guilty. But again, it worked for me and it was easy, and I didn't have to mentally push myself to do it, because next day I just woke up and I did it and it was fine.
Well, good for you. So the tomorrow me can actually be real. The tomorrow me and this is your list. I'm going to read from your list because it's quite funny. Well, not funny. It's actually quite true. The tomorrow me wakes up early. How'd that work out for you today? Oh, don't answer that.
Never happened. Shut up!
Tomorrow me is motivated.
How dare you? No, shut up, Nick. That was so personal. I overslept today, and Nick was so fine. He was like, it's all right. It's fine, blah, blah. And now, when we are
fine.
live,
Did I say it's not fine?
Suddenly you use it against me. Yeah, no, that's the case with me. I'm like, yeah, today I won't go to sleep at 4 a.m. No, I don't. I go at 5.
Tomorrow me will be motivated, will answer emails, will drink water, will fix their life, will start the project, will become organized. The fact is that we could apply these things to each of our lives, and the tomorrow me has always come through in the end. So it is actually something that, in fact, using the future me delusion, maybe it's not a delusion, maybe it's a motivation, that you have this idea that the future me will come through for you, and does. Although, a word of warning, we have another idiom in English.
Of course.
We have to have our idiom moment. We have an idiom that says, tomorrow never comes. So
that's...
Because it doesn't, because when it does come, it's today. It's not tomorrow anymore.
Okay, yeah, okay. Fine, fair enough. But it's not very optimistic. It doesn't really suit your personality.
It's one of those little truisms. No, I'd just say it's an English idiom. I didn't make it up. I also wanted to talk about something you said earlier about making a to-do list, because I feel like there are two types of people. One type makes a to-do list and one doesn't, and it's as simple as that. But for me, I'm the type of person who needs a to-do list, because with my terrible memory and attention issues and everything, I keep forgetting about stuff. And I'm also, when I'm thinking about everything I need to do, I'm stressed about forgetting something. So I need to write everything down. But the thing is that I so often do procrastinate making the to-do list. That's it's just something. I had a habit few weeks ago, and it really lasted for months, that every Monday morning I made a to-do list for the week. And it worked so well. It made my life so much easier. But then, another Monday came and I was like, yeah, I don't want to do the to-do list. I'll do it tomorrow. Well, and then it was Friday, and doing a to-do list was kind of useless. And then when my life got busy again and I would actually need a to-do list, I was just too lazy to do a to-do list. So it's a circle, and I'm a great believer, as you know, in to-do lists. And when I was, for example, working at the BBC, I would go in to my office, on a Monday morning, and I would write down in handwriting, for those of you who remember how to do that. I do that. When I'm making a to-do list, it's handwritten. Good. I can't do it on my computer ever. There is still, no, I can't. I have to have it. And when I was working at the BBC, and actually the job before that, I actually had a clipboard. So it's rather officious or official. And I would, put a piece of blank paper on the clipboard and then go through and write all these tasks. Sometimes the most small, trivial of tasks would get onto the to-do list. But the point is, then there's this fantastic motivation when you put, and I would use a red pen for this, put a tick against a completed task. And then
of course you would.
You could see the red ticks multiplying during the course of the week. But the ones that multiplied fastest were the trivial tasks. Those big tasks, the projects, the ones that had a long lifespan, the ones that involved brain, tended to get put off. And they would have deadlines. I'd have to write a deadline against it to just keep reminding myself. And then the closer and closer I would be bumping up against the deadline, the more motivated I would become. And suddenly I would get this kind of, what is it? It's a rush of dopamine or something, I think you told me, that comes in to your brain or your body and really helps focus you and you get it done. So I'm one of those people that always gets right till I'm bumping up against the deadline, and then I kind of do my best work. So I guess that's the kind of procrastinator I am. Talking of which, guess what?
Here we go. Next time to shine, everyone.
Talking of which, we have a quiz. Oh, a Life Happens quiz. And the quiz is called, let's get the exact title. What is your procrastination personality? So, and this is a fun quiz to do, and I recommend everybody has a go at it. To do it, go to the description of this podcast, wherever you're consuming it, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and in the description, normally towards the end of the description, we have put a link, and you click on the link after you've left a like for this podcast, by the way. That's kind of mandatory. And then click on the link and do the quiz and find out your procrastination personality. I'll give you some examples of questions. Question number 1, how do you approach deadlines? I just explained my approach. So you have these choices. I work best under pressure. 2, I start working on it immediately. Who does that? 3,
people do.
If you do, let us know in the comments if that's you.
It's a superpower, honestly.
It is.
I really admire that.
We want to know how you do it. 3, I plan it out, but wait until the last minute. Or 4, I often forget about it until it's too late. So what is your approach to deadlines? What was your answer?
I think that my answer was the one when I plan it, but then wait for the deadline. It was the third one, I think.
Okay, yeah, I think that was
because I feel like I'm planning, because, I'm also an anxious person, which I think we already established. So when I get a new task or new email or anything, I immediately check it. Like the second I see it, I check it and I read through it. And then I'm like, oh, I have a month for that. That means I can procrastinate for at least 29 days. Great. And then I just move on.
Except the example you told us earlier of the test that you did at your high school.
Yeah, that was
check.
Okay. That was one
it.
time. I learned my lesson from that.
Okay. Next question. What distracts you the most? 1.
Everything.
Wait for the possible answers. What distracts you the most? 1. I rarely get distracted. 2. Other tasks that seem more urgent. 3. My phone calls and messages. 4. Social media notifications. So what's...
Everything. And I think that it was, I'm not quite sure about it, maybe you will remember, but it was in Stephen King's book on writing that I read and I absolutely love. That he said, sit in your office or like in the room without any distractions and so on and so on. And I'm like, that's not physically possible for me. Because for normal people, distractions are, if they say like, I need to be without distractions, they will go to a different room than the rest of their family. They will turn off their phone or something like that. And then they are without distractions. If I was locked in that purely white room for crazy people without absolutely anything there, or if I was locked in a complete darkness, I would still be distracted. You would have to take my brain out of my skull so I wasn't distracted, because literally I get distracted by every single thing, every sound, every thought, every movement, everything. So unfortunately, being without distraction doesn't really work for me.
I would just have to say as a warning to anyone listening at home, do not try taking your brain out of your skull at home. That's obviously something that Michelle
Really,
does.
I think it would help sometimes. I would really need it sometimes just to rest.
I think my answer was phone calls and messages and stuff like that. I get distracted by
Oh
that.
yeah. You often tell me that when I text you, you are like, "Oh, I was just about to write and now I can't because I'm replying to your message." And I'm like, "Dude, first of all, you don't have to reply. Second of all, you could do both. Third of all, just reply and go back to your task."
But you always tell me that there's a reason why I can't do two things at once.
Yeah, you can't. And that's because you are a man.
I knew that it's going to come. I thought we'll just get that out of the way. Michelle is convinced that only women can multitask.
Every woman will tell you that. It's not just me. Back me up, please.
Sorry, I was reading something. What did you say? Did you see what I did there?
I just don't think you are being funny at this point.
Next question was, or another question, I'm not doing this in order. What motivates you to complete tasks? 1, the fear of missing deadlines. 2, I need someone to hold me accountable. 3, a sense of accomplishment. 4, rewards or incentives.
I've never felt the sense of accomplishment once in my life. Ever. I'm the firstborn daughter. We don't get that. It's a privilege we don't get. You will not understand. Don't ask. So, unfortunately, my biggest motivation is fear of, like, failure or missing out on something, which is so toxic. And it's something I'm trying to work on for a few years now. It doesn't really work for me. But yeah, that's my biggest motivation. Not to, fail myself or people around me.
Okay. I think mine actually is a sense of accomplishment, but also there is that fear of missing deadlines. And, having worked in broadcasting and in, live TV and live radio, missing a deadline is not an option. It just is not an option. So even if you're going to have to do something thinking off the top of your head, you do. So anyway, I think that's enough. That gives you a sample of the questions. Go and do this at home. My answer to what type of procrastinator are you? I am apparently the busy bee is the type of procrastinator
Are
I am.
you? Oh my gosh, I'm the same. Literally.
So we're both, that's not unusual. It's not the
It's
first
not,
time
but
that's
it kind of
happened.
sucks. Yeah, but it kind of sucks because I kind of wanted to see what other options are there.
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait. Do the quiz at home. Go to the description of this podcast and click on the link and find out what you are, and then tell us. Write to us in the comments on Instagram, on Facebook, wherever you connect with Life Happens. There's a description of the busy bee type, which I shall now read. You thrive on being busy and often take on too many responsibilities, which can lead to procrastination as you juggle multiple tasks. There you see, I can multitask. While your enthusiasm is admirable, it's essential to prioritize and delegate when possible. Consider creating a to-do list that ranks tasks by urgency and importance. By focusing on one task at a time, you can reduce overwhelm and increase productivity. Remember, it's okay to say no to maintain your well-being. So there you go. Actually, I think there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah. You know what I love about the quizzes? I mean, I'm always acting annoyed, but that's just like, for the fun of it. And also because you're making me elaborate. But I feel like when we do it towards the end of the episode, it literally says what we discovered about ourselves during the episode. And without knowing the results often or without reading it or anything, now as you are reading it, I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I was saying that I do. And, I just think that's really fascinating to a way. Maybe a bit scary, but also really cool.
Okay. And you said we're getting towards the end of the episode. We are. Time is beating us again. But before we go, we should look at a sort of positive way to end this. How do we beat procrastination?
I honestly wish I knew the answer. You are asking me as if I can solve everything right now with that attitude. But if I speak from personal experience, something that really helped me was to realize it's a circle and it's building a habit. Because if your brain gets used to procrastination and gets used to that relief when you move that task and you have that comfort, of like, wow, I actually don't have to do it today. I can do it tomorrow. It's instant relief and it's so addictive. And the thing is that in the moment, it feels so great. But first of all, you will face the same thing tomorrow or the day after. And another thing is that your brain will get used to it and you will never break the cycle. So for me, I'm almost doing it for future tasks to get easier, to not really give in to that procrastination. And also, I think another thing is we talk about it all the time, self-awareness. And I feel like we portray ourselves in a certain way. And so maybe you think you were always the lazy one, or even worse, someone told you when you were a child, a teacher, a parent, someone looked at you and they were like, oh, you are so lazy, or you always miss deadline, there is no hope for you, which is, I feel like it's so common, but it's also so hurting and devastating for your mind. And so if you are that type of person who was painted as the lazy one, it's really helpful to know that it's not true. Or if maybe it is true, you can break it. And just because for 20 years or 50 years you are always painted as the chaotic one or the lazy one, doesn't mean that you can't focus and you can't change that about yourself if you want to and if you think it will help you in your life.
Good. Wise words indeed. And I think that's where we'll wrap it up for this week. And a little task I can give you so that you can prove to yourself, wherever you're listening to us, that to prove to yourself that you are not a procrastinator, the minute you hear the music coming in, which it will do in a second or two, go to the description of the podcast and click on the link to do that "What kind of procrastinator am I?" quiz just after you've given us a like. And we'll be back with the next episode next week.